Hi Yogi, and welcome to another slow flow class with me, Oceana. Of course, today we are heading into our second week of exploring the twisting postures of yoga. So that means that I'll give you new teaching points to consider as we move through today's practice. Really, I'd like you to think about the twists actually originating in your belly button and then having a sense that the twist is almost corkscrewing up the rest of your spine. So if I was to twist to my right side, I would think about starting the twist from my belly button and then continuing that spiral of the twist up through my spine as I move to the right side. And equally, you want to think about the movement of the ribs as you move into the twist. So if I move into a twist to my left side, I can notice that my right rib cage is rolling forward and my left ribs are rolling back. And if I can actually intensify that movement of the ribs myself, then I'm able to take myself into a deeper version of the twist by myself without any kind of manual assistance from a teacher. We're also in today's sequence really exploring this idea that there's always an active and passive version of the twist. And usually in the active version, there's a lot more muscular engagement. That's not really to say that one version is better than the other, but we're sort of exploring the different options that we have. And if you are able to maintain all of that engagement in your muscles as you come into the passive version of the twist, then that's a really great thing to explore in your physical body and to notice that stability in your joints and body. Now, in terms of props, you shouldn't really need anything. If you do have a yoga brick or possibly some blankets and pillows at hand that might help you in your seated postures or in some of our standing twists, then do grab those props and gather them around you, but they are optional. I'll be giving you other ways of substituting them. And we'll start in a tabletop position. So when you're ready, join me on the mat there, Yogi. Once you find your way into tabletop position, make sure that you start from a place of great alignment. So check that your wrists are directly underneath the shoulders, that the knees are directly underneath your hips. And we'll come into a little bit of movement. Spin the inner elbows forward, but soften the elbow joint. Let the crown of the head reach forward. The tailbone lengthens backwards. And gently from here, we'll tuck under the left toes. Reaching the left heel back. We'll have a little moment to press into and out of the back foot, getting a little bit of movement into our major joints here. And eventually keeping that sensation of pressing back into our left heel, getting a deeper stretch into the back of the left leg. Eventually bring your shoulders back on top of the wrists. From there, float the left foot off the ground. Have a brief moment to wiggle your toes. And then circle your toes around the ankle 3 times in each direction. Changing the direction when you're ready. And once you've done that, bend your left knee deeply, then circle the knee around your left hip. Really big circles, again 3 times in each direction. When you're done, draw the knee into the chest, step the left foot to the side so you've got the heel in one line from your hip joint. Press into your left hand as you inhale, right fingertips lift up towards the ceiling, expand the chest. As you exhale, reach the right fingers towards your left big toe. As you inhale, expand the chest, lift up. As you exhale, threading through, just hovering about an inch off the ground. Final time with your in-breath, lift up, reach and expand. And this time as you exhale, again, reach as far across as you can. Possibly, if there's no neck issues, you could release your your right shoulder to the floor, your right ear to the ground. And either keeping the left fingertips on the floor for support and balance, or if you feel ready, you could lift the left hand so that allows you to expand the chest a little bit more towards the ceiling. Maybe if you wanted to go a little bit further, you could go for a half bind. So the top Palm spins behind you and tucks towards the opposite hip, which should allow you to really spin the left shoulder open, possibly have a little peek up towards the sky. If you've got plant friends like I do, you might sort of look at them from a very different angle than you normally would. You might notice a new leaf or two for a moment. And gently unwind the top hand, bring those fingertips back in front of your face if they're not already. Press into your left hand to unravel. Bring the right hand back underneath its own shoulder. As you exhale, draw the left knee in towards the chest and then step or shimmy the left foot to the front of the mat. Feel free to use your hands to get the leg there. We're preparing ourselves for low lunge, so engage the front heel towards the back knee. Get that lift from the legs as you inhale to lift the arms. Reach your right fingertips forward, left hand back, and tuck your back toes under. Now we'll move through this sort of as fluidly as we can a few times. We'll sweep our arms forward and towards the floor. So right hand comes underneath its own shoulder. The left fingertips keep going in a big, big circle. As they reach back, the back knee lifts and you lift the fingertips up into a simple high lunge twist. Back knee comes down, you circle the left arm back. Bring the left hand to your left hip, reach the right fingertips all the way towards the back of the mat into a reverse low lunge. And again, going forward as you inhale, right hand to the floor, lift the back knee. Paint that big circle with your left fingertips. Find your way into your simple high lunge twist. And circle the left hand back as you exhale. Back knee to the floor, sweeping the right fingertips up and back. Optional to either keep the left hand on the hip or reach all the way to your back thigh or calf. Final time here with the inhale, sweep everything forward. Again, find that high lunge twist version. And as you exhale, circle back. Find your version of that reverse low lunge, possibly reaching all the way for the ankle. As you come back into your original low lunge twist, from here, back of your front hand comes to the outside of the front knee. Optional to stay really nice and tall here. Keep the chest spinning open. Or you could slide that bottom hand down. If you get past that elbow, the hands come into prayer position at the center of the chest and the top hand presses into the bottom hand. You're really pressing your bottom shoulder away from that bottom ear to spin the chest open and maybe have a little peek to the space behind you. Find a few moments to breathe into that twist. And let the inhale float the arms back through center. As you exhale, frame the front foot. Step your front knee to the back. Knees wide, big toes touch. As you exhale, find your way into child's pose, Balasana. Just for a moment, notice the asymmetry in the body, the difference from the left side to the right. Let your breath settle down. On an inhale, coming back to your tabletop position. Checking your alignment briefly, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, inner elbows spin forward but unlocking the elbow joint. And from here we'll do all of that on the right side. So we'll start by tucking the right toes under, reaching back through the heel, having a moment to pulsate forwards and back a few times, just getting a little bit of movement into the major joints in the back of that leg. Eventually holding that stretch statically. So keep pressing from your hands into the right leg. Feel into that deep, deep calf stretch. Bring your shoulders back on top of the wrists. From there, float the right leg off the ground. Have a little wiggle of the toes briefly. Spread them really wide. And then circle the toes around the ankle 3 times in each direction. When you've done that, bend your right knee deeply. Circle the knee around the hip joint 3 times, again in each direction. Painting the circles as large as you can. Noticing any stuckness or tension in that right hip. And from there, drawing the knee into the chest so that you can step the right foot to the right side as far out as you can. The toes are pointing forward and you've got the right ankle in line with your right hip. We'll find our way into thread needle here. So as you inhale, shift your weight into the right hand, lift the left arm up towards the ceiling and expand the chest. As you exhale, left fingertips reach across towards your right big toe. Hover just an inch off the floor. Inhale to lift up, have a little peek towards the ceiling. Exhale to thread the arm through. Final time as you inhale, lift up and expand. On the exhale here, we're coming to stay. So let your right elbow bend deeply. Reach the left fingertips as far across as you can. Then bring the left ear and left shoulder towards the ground. Now, if there's no neck issues, then from here you could take your right fingertips towards the ceiling, which allows you to lift the chest a little bit more, possibly spinning the right hand behind you and tucking it towards the opposite hip so that you can deeply open your right shoulder and maybe even have a little peek over that top shoulder towards the ceiling, possibly spotting some plant action in the process just for a couple of breaths. And eventually unraveling the top arm, planting the fingertips in front of your face, and then press into the right hand to unravel the left, bring it underneath its own shoulder. Draw the right knee into the chest and step or shimmy the foot forward. Again, feel free to use your hands to get there. Engage that front heel towards your back knee, and from that engagement in the legs, as you inhale, lift the arms. Left fingertips forward, right fingertips back, moving with the breath here. As we inhale, the left hand comes down, we circle the right fingers all the way back. Back toes tuck under, we lift the back knee and find that high lunge twist. Circling the arm back, the knee comes to the floor. Right hand to the right hip, left fingertips reach up and back into that reverse low lunge. And the inhale, we come back forward, left hand to the floor, circling the right arm all the way up and overhead into that twist. And right hand goes back either to the right hip or all the way to the right thigh as you come into that reverse low lunge. And final time here, moving with our own breath as you inhale to come forward, circle the right arm into the twist. And as you take the right hand back, your choice, going to the hip, the thigh, or possibly reaching towards that back ankle, left hand reaches overhead. And circling all the way back into your starting position from here, back of the left hand goes to the outside of the front knee, either staying really tall here with the chest spinning open, possibly, if you wish to, sliding the arm down, and then once you get past the elbow, bringing the hands together in front of the chest, top hand presses into the bottom hand, allowing you to press the floor away, making sure that you're creating more space between that bottom shoulder and elbow. Sorry, the bottom shoulder and ear, possibly having a little gaze up. Maybe not if the sun is right in your eyes. And inhale to come back through center. And lift the arms for a brief moment. As you exhale, frame your front foot. Send the front knee to the back. Slightly different from here. We'll tuck the toes under. And really thinking as if we were moving through mud, to very, very slowly with the toes tucked under, lift the sitting bones up and back. As slow as we can, making our way into our downward facing dog. Again, thinking of the inner elbows going forward, allowing the shoulders to soften down the back, possibly having a little pedal through the feet, a little shimmy of the hips if we want to wag the tail of the dog. Maybe reaching one heel at a time back. Just a little bit of movement in that first downward dog to ease into it. Of course, you could also just find a little bit of stillness. From here, yogi's choice to stay, to take rest in child's pose, or we move through a vinyasa. As you inhale, shoulders come all the way forward on top of your wrists into a high plank. On the exhale, we lower the knees gently, tucking the elbows in, coming through Chaturanga Dandasana with control, lowering to the floor as slow as you can. Untuck your toes, press the tops of the feet into the ground as you inhale, roll the shoulders back and lift the chest into Cobra Pose. And on your exhale, make your way back to Downward Dog via the knees. Let your sitting bones lift up and back, press through the index finger and thumb, spin your inner elbows forward and let your shoulders soften down the back. Gently bring your big toes to touch at the back of the mat as you inhale. Lift the right leg up and back into your three-legged dog. As you exhale, draw the right knee towards the nose for tiger's curl. Bring your shoulders forward on top of the wrists. And then step or shimmy the foot forward. Again, feel free to use your right hand to help. Spin your left heel to the ground as you inhale. Windmill the arms to open up for Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Let the tops of the knuckles lengthen, let the shoulders soften. Take your gaze forward over your front ring finger. Stay for your last few moments here. Let the rib cage draw in towards itself so there's a sense that the ribs are knitting together. And from there, as you exhale, front forearm to the front thigh, left arm reaches up and overhead with the pinky finger edge spinning towards the ground into Parashvakonasana. Seeing if you can create space between your lower ear and your lower shoulder. Lifting from the center of the chest, pressing into the outer edge of your back foot. Optional to stay here, you could always deepen the pose by bringing your hand to a brick or all the way to the floor. As long as you can still breathe here and you still have that sense that your sternum is spinning towards the ceiling very actively. As you inhale, use the top arm to bring yourself through Warrior 2. As you straighten the front leg, left hand to the back thigh, right fingertips reach back, reverse triangle to the back of the mat. As you inhale, right fingertips reach forward. From here, either back of your right hand to the front thigh, possibly the inner calf, maybe the ankle, a brick or the floor again. Left fingertips lift up towards the ceiling. Again, we're seeing if we can spin the center of the chest upwards into Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. Maybe even lifting our eyes towards that top thumb if the balance is easy. Still remembering to press into our front big toe as well as the outer edge of the back foot, very active in our legs. And gently from here, top hand goes all the way back and to the floor. We walk the hands over towards the left edge of the mat, turning the toes out, the heels go in, preparing ourselves for horse stance. As you inhale, sink the sitting bones down, draw a big circle with your hands. Keep the deep bend on your knees. As you exhale, release the hands to the inner thighs, the fingertips point in. Take an inhale here, let the crown of the head reach upwards. As you exhale, left shoulder goes forward. Have a little peek over the right shoulder. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, the second side, right shoulder forward, gaze over the left. Inhale, come through center. Exhale to the first side. Inhale up and exhale to the second side. One final time, each side, moving with your own breath. And as you come back through center here, release the hands to the floor. We'll take Warrior 2 at the back of the mat. So turn your left toes to point all the way to the back of the mat. Turn your right toes in. Deep bend on your left knee. Windmill the arms and open it up into your warrior two. You might have to slightly adjust your feet when you get there. Again, let your fingertips be soft. Let the tops of the arms lengthen, the shoulders to drop, your rib cage to knit in, controlling that sort of flaring action. Pressing into both feet equally, allowing your eyes to travel forward. And gently from here, left forearm to the front thigh, right arm reaches up and overhead, fingertip edge to the floor. So actively spin that fingertip down. From here, center of the chest is rolling open towards the ceiling. Possibly staying here, maybe lifting your eyes upwards. If you wanted to take it a little bit further, feel free to bring your bottom hand to a brick or all the way to the floor for full Parashvakonasana. Still pressing into your legs very actively, thinking about spinning the chest open, even if you're in a more advanced option. Or I should say, especially if you're in a more advanced option. And from here, as you inhale, find your way back to warrior two, front leg straightens, right hand to the back thigh, left arm reaches up and overhead, reverse triangle. As you inhale, left fingertips reach as far forward as they can, possibly going back of the left hand to the inner thigh, inner calf, ankle, brick or the floor. Right fingertips extend upwards for Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. Pressing into that front big toe and the outer edge of your back foot. Think about the center of the chest spinning open. Maybe take your eyes upwards towards your thumb. Find your breath just for the last few moments here. And gently from there, reach your top arm all the way back and down to the floor. Walk the hands over to what might now be your right side of the mat, but originally was the left side. Turn both feet parallel to each other, so the toes are pointing all the way to the left edge. And from there, plant the hands underneath their own shoulder. Bend your right knee as you inhale, lift the left arm up. And from there, swap sides. So left knee bends, left hand underneath its own shoulder, right arm lifts. And again, we'll do that 2 more times each side. So shift over to your right leg, bring the right hand down, lift the left arm. Opposite side, left hand down, left knee bends, right arm up. 1 more time each side. Final time here as you come to the left side. Plant the hand down, walk all the way back to the front so you can turn your right toes to point forward. Coming into a runner's lunge, you tuck under your left foot. And on an exhale, step your front foot to the back into your downward facing dog. Options to stay here, to take a little rest in child's pose, or to come through a vinyasa. We inhale forward to a high plank. We lower down via the knees or one straight line for Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale takes us into the back bend of our choice. And the exhale takes us back either via the knees or one straight line to our downward facing dog. From here, if you're not there already, gently lower your knees to the floor. Big toes touch. Find your way into a child's pose. Let your sitting bones draw back towards the heels. Lengthen the back body by pressing lightly into your fingertips. For a moment, let the body settle into this restorative and symmetrical pose. And gently from there, walk the hands in towards yourself. Come into a kneeling position just so you can slip the feet to one side and plant them in front of you. Now we'll make our way into Dandasana, so have your left leg forward. Feel free to keep a really generous bend on the left knee as long as you've got your toes flexing back actively towards the shin bone. From there, the right knee draws in and then you allow the knee to go out to the side. So if you notice, again, a big gap between the knee and the floor, feel free to support that with a blanket. Possibly you've got some yoga bricks or blocks that you can fill that space with so that you can truly release the leg. And similarly, if you get here and you notice that there's a big bit of rounding in your spine, then I would suggest that you could roll up the back of your mat and give yourself a little bit of a lift that should allow you to come into this pose a little bit easier. We'll prepare our spine for this slight twisting action towards the front leg. So left hand goes to the outside of the left knee. As you inhale, right arm sweeps up and overhead in a big circle. And you're going to expand the chest towards the right side with the fingertips reaching back. As you exhale, the right hand goes forward, up and across and reaches for the outer edge of your front foot very actively. As you inhale, lifting up, expanding the chest to the right side. Exhale to travel forward and across, go for that outer edge of that foot. Final time here as you inhale to lift and expand. And let the exhale take you forward, this time framing the front leg with both hands. You could be really tall. Again, you could have the front knee bent. If the leg is straight, and there's a little bit of room for you to move, then feel free to fold towards your front foot. Essentially, you're aiming, I know it technically translates as head to knee pose, but really it's very helpful to actually think of your collarbones aiming for your front big toe, so that you're really lengthening the chest forward every time that you inhale, and as you exhale, softening down, possibly forearms to the floor, possibly staying a little bit higher. Yogi's choice. Whatever's available to you today and doesn't require you to strain in any way. Finding your last few moments of breath here. And gently from there, walking the hands back in towards yourself, using the right hand to support the right knee as you lift it up towards the ceiling. From here, really draw the knee in close. And again, if you have any rounding in the spine here already, then of course feel free to bend the knee, or alternatively place a little bit of padding underneath your sitting bones. As you inhale here, we'll find a seated twist, Marichyasana. So as you inhale, right hand lifts and goes all the way behind you, behind the sitting bone. As you, on your next inhale, left hand lifts, and you can either wrap the left hand around that top knee or hook the elbow across the thigh if you prefer. On the inhale, growing tall from the sitting bones all the way through the crown of your head. As you exhale, twisting towards the back of the room, so really spinning the chest open. And possibly shifting a little bit more weight into your right sitting bones so that you have equal weight in both legs. And from there, you might find that you're able to spin the chest a little bit more as you exhale. Possibly closing the eyes if that's your preference. And gently from here, unravel your top arm, take your gaze forward, both hands to the outside of your left leg as you exhale. Bow down, de-rotate the spine as you inhale, come all the way to a seated position. Bring your both legs in front of you for a moment. Big toes together, there's probably a separation between your ankles. Now again, feel free to bend the knees if this is a lot for your hamstrings or there's a lot of rounding going on in your back. Otherwise, legs can be straight. In any of those options, the toes are flexing back towards the shin. And you could stay here with the hands on the floor to support you, drawing the chest forward again towards your toes, but staying upright. If you do want to take this a little bit further, Dandasana, staff pose, you could bring the arms overhead and interlace just your thumbs with the other fingers spreading wide as you lift up through your fingertips, soften the shoulders. And then stay for a few final breaths here, very actively pulling the thumbs apart so that you're engaging the arms and shoulder blades. Allowing the breath to settle. And exhale to release the hands down by your side. This time, use the left hand to support the left knee as you bring it in towards the chest, and allow the knee to go out to the side for Marichyasana on the second side. So again, if there's a huge amount of gap here, then do feel free to put some padding there. If there's a lot of rounding going on in the spine, prop yourself on something, or simply take a really generous bend of your front knee. Now again, we're preparing the torso for that twisting action. So right hand to the outside of your right knee as you inhale, the left arm reaches up and overhead. We expand the chest towards the left side of our mat. As we exhale, that top arm goes forward and across. We reach for the outer edge of our front foot. As you inhale, you lift up and expand. And on the exhale, reaching forward and across. Going one final time here, moving with the breath very consciously. As you come forward, this time folding in, so yogi's choice to stay really tall, to have that generous bend on the front knee. If the leg is straight, possibly you're wanting to fold a little bit deeper. Maybe you're working with the breath, so you might think again, as you inhale, the collarbones draw a little bit further forward, and as you exhale, you soften your belly towards the front thigh. Finding a few moments to breathe here, to settle in, allowing the body some time to adapt to that stretching sensation so that over time the muscles release just a little bit. And gently from here on an inhale, walking the hands back in. Left hand supports the left knee as you draw it up towards the ceiling. And again, from here, we'll make our way into Marichyasana. So from here, with the knee in towards the chest, as you inhale, left fingertips lift, and we spin that hand behind the sitting bone. As we inhale, right arm lifts, we lengthen up through the right side of the waist, and either wrapping the right arm around the top knee or possibly hooking it all the way across the thigh. Growing taller through the spine as we inhale. On the exhale, we might find that we can spin the chest open towards the left side of the mat, deepening our twist. Maybe we're taking the head with us, so we might start to look back. Again, possibly you've got some plant friends there that you can have a little longer look at. And certainly we stay just for a few rounds of breath here. Again, allowing the spine, the muscles around the spine to adapt. And ideally not forgetting about those front toes, so still flexing the right foot back, pressing the right heel down into the ground. And very gently from there, unwind your head first, then release the arms. Both hands go over past your right thigh as you exhale to bow down and de-rotate the spine. Inhale to come all the way back up. And our final time here in Dandasana. So again, knees can be really generously bent if you prefer. The big toes are touching, but a little bit of separation of your heels and ankles. And either you could keep the hands by your side with the shoulders rolling back and the chest lifting if that's helpful. If you want to take it further, then hook your thumbs, but notice the way that you usually hook your thumbs and go the opposite way. From there, lift through your fingertips, spread them nice and wide, spread your toes, flex them back towards the shin bone. lift up through your fingertips and very actively draw the heels against the stickiness of the mat towards yourself. So active legs, active arms, soften the shoulders. Stay for your final few rounds of breath here in staff pose, Dandasana. Exhale to release the hands, plant them either sides of your hips, slide your hips forward towards your heels, feet hip distance, and from there, slow motion, release your spine to the floor, allowing your head and shoulders to release down last. Bringing the hands by the sides of the hips with the palms facing down. Walk your heels in towards your sitting bones. And from here, we'll make our way into a back bend. So we'll start in a moving sort of active variation, and then we'll find a static version, and I'll give you different options at that point. So from here, we'll start by pressing into the feet to slowly peel the spine off the ground, one vertebra at a time, coming onto the tops of the shoulders. And as you exhale, slowly releasing the spine back into the floor. And we'll move through that a few more times as you inhale to peel the spine upwards towards the ceiling, and exhale to lower down. Seeing if you can match that movement to your own breath cycle, really matching that when you reach the top of your inhale, the hips lift as high as they can. And as you reach the bottom of your exhale, the hips come all the way to the ground. When you bring your hips back to the floor this time, if you wanted to add a movement of your arms as well into this, then as you inhale, you lift the arms and the hips at the same time. And as you exhale, the hands come down at the same time as the hips. So if you wanted to make this a little bit more tricky for yourself, then you could see if you can reach the top of your hip movement and the arms touching the floor behind you at the same time as the inhale completes. And as the exhale completes, the hands and hips touch the floor at the same time. So it takes a little bit of coordination and thinking. So see if you can match those movements up. And usually for most of us, that means that the hands and arms have to move just a little bit faster than the hips. And the hips might have to slow down to match the breath. From here, we'll all meet back on the floor. Now, if you'd prefer to stay with that moving variation, then of course feel free to do that. Otherwise, with the palms facing down, we press into the feet and lift the hips again. Now we stay here. Options for the arms, you could see if you can catch the hands underneath and interlace them behind your back, and then pressing into your elbows, you might be able to shimmy the upper arms and shoulders underneath your back, which allows you to come a little bit higher onto your into your back bend, possibly lifting a little bit higher through the glutes. Maybe you could come onto your tiptoes and walk the feet in just a touch to deepen that back bend. And eventually finding just a few moments of stillness here. Slowly lowering, release the shoulders, release the hands, release the spine, and then bring your feet flat to the floor. Let the spine find its natural curves just for a brief moment, settling into the floor beneath you, and eventually drawing one knee at a time into the chest, hugging the knees in towards yourself, almost as if you were trying to draw the knees towards the ground, so you're flattening the spine, and then giving yourself a counter pose to the back bend by lifting the forehead towards the knees so your shoulders and head lift. Gently release the shoulders and head back down. Take your arms out by your side. From here, allow the knees to roll over to the left side of the mat. And make sure that you really shimmy your way onto your left hip. Now, optional to stay here with the knees bent, or you could straighten the top leg. You don't have to straighten it all the way, of course. If you wanted to take a little bit further, you could even straighten your bottom leg towards the front of the mat so that you come into a slightly different version of a reclined twist. And we'll add a little bit of an arm movement here so that we sort of become a little bit more conscious of our shoulder position here in the reclined twist. So we'll reach our right arm all the way across to the left hand. So we're closing the palms on top of one another. And from here, allowing the right fingertips to paint a really big circle above our head until the right hand is all the way extended at shoulder height. And we might let the eyes follow the right hand here. So yes, right hand. To think about that one for a moment. So again, as you inhale, let the arms sweep all the way overhead, painting that big, big half circle over your head until you come to shoulder height. On the exhale, the palms touch, and for the final time as you inhale, paint that big half circle. Once the arm is extended, you might choose to keep your chin between your collarbones or allow your eyes to drift over towards the opposite thumb, so your right thumb. Allowing the breath to come back to its natural rhythm here. Feeling that deep twist from your belly button traveling through your abdominals, massaging your internal organs, allowing the right shoulder to be heavy towards the floor. And gently, if you've allowed your head to turn, lift the eyes towards the ceiling first, then draw your top knee in, bottom knee follows, rock all the way onto your back body for a moment, hug the knees in, draw them towards the floor to almost straighten the spine. And we'll move on to the second side here, so the arms go wide again. We'll start by allowing the knees to gently roll over to the right side, making sure that we shimmy all the way onto our right hip as far as that's possible. And optional again to stay with the knees generously bent, or you could straighten the top leg and the bottom leg as well, one after the other. Of course, any degree of bend on the knees is perfectly acceptable here. There's no need to straighten the legs all the way. And from here, again, we find this sort of active movement in the arms so that we start to feel a little bit into the shoulder joints. So left hand reaches over and across as you exhale, palms touch. And from there, the left fingertips paint that big half circle over your head as you inhale, back into that twist. Exhale, bring the palms to touch. Inhale, let the left arm reach all the way overhead into the twist. Final time here. Exhale, reach across, and inhale, open the chest. Let the left shoulder expand into the twist. And if you've been following that arm movement with your eyes, then possibly keeping your eyes on your left thumb. Of course, if that's uncomfortable for the neck in any way, then allow your chin to rest between your collarbones, possibly closing the eyes, whichever option you've chosen. Again, giving your body a little bit of time to settle into the pose, to soften towards the ground. Let that left shoulder be really heavy. Notice that really gentle twist from your belly button upwards. Again, that slight sensation that your internal organs are getting just a touch of a massage here, a wringing out. And allowing your breath to be soft, possibly separating your jaw away from top jaw, away from the bottom jaw. Letting the tongue soften away from the roof of the mouth. And very gently bringing the head back into center if you are looking over to the left side. Draw the top knee in first, bottom knee follows. And from there, wrapping the arms around the knees, hugging them in, almost flattening the spine against the floor as you exhale. And options here, yogi's choice, you could have the right arm reaching behind you, rolling over to the right side, the left arm supports you there, and you can stay on that side for a few rounds of breath. If you prefer to rock through the spine, then the hands go underneath the knees and you can use your lower limbs to build a little bit of momentum as you rock forwards and back a few times. And when you're ready to, then we'll meet in a seated position, any comfortable seat. So feel free to have your legs or shins or ankles crossed. And we'll bring the palms to touch in front of the chest here, bowing the forehead towards the fingertips. As always, using this final moment of our practice just to give ourselves a small token of gratitude for showing up to our practice and dedicating this time to ourselves. We all know how difficult that can be on some days. And if it was an easy day for you to get here, then embrace the beauty of that. And finally, you might use this last moment to plant your sankalpa, your good intention that guides the energy that you cultivate in your yoga practice out into the real world, towards the people that you love and treasure, the things that you're passionate about and working towards. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, yogi. So thank you as always for joining me on your yoga mat today. I hope you enjoyed the practice, and of course if you did, then do give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel for more videos every week. If you have any questions, suggestions or comments, pop those down below. Let me know how your practice went today. And of course, if you can, then do share this channel with your friends so that we can expand our wonderful community of yogis here. If you want to find me anywhere else online, then all of that information is in the video description, and hopefully I will see you back on your yoga mat very soon, yogi. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.